Live from Marib, this is the news bulletin from SABA satellite channel. Here are tonight's top stories. President Al-Alimi discusses with Japanese Foreign Minister bilateral cooperation and maritime security. Prime Minister chairs Energy Council meeting on electricity reforms and gas supply. Joint brigades conduct live fire drills for drone and air defense units. Welcome back, and to details. Presidential Leadership Council President Dr. Rashad Al-Alimi has received Japanese Foreign Minister Toshimitsu Motegi to discuss bilateral relations and prospects for expanding cooperation in the presence of Foreign Minister Afrah Hazuba. Al-Alimi praised Japan's long-standing support for Yemen and its role as a major donor, particularly in education, healthcare, food security, and institutional building. He also welcomed Japanese assistance to Yemen's Coast Guard and called for expanding cooperation in training, surveillance, search and rescue, counterterrorism, and combating smuggling and organized crime. The president also called for broader Japanese support in renewable energy, electricity, economic recovery, and job creation, stressing the importance of moving from emergency assistance towards sustainable development. Al-Alimi praised the Japanese minister on continued Houthi attacks against civilian ports, infrastructure, and commercial vessels, and welcomed Japan's condemnation of the escalation. He reaffirmed Yemen's commitment to restoring state institutions, establishing the state's exclusive authority over legitimate weapons, and achieving a just and sustainable peace that protects Yemen's sovereignty and prevents its territory from being used to threaten neighboring countries and international waterways. The president also expressed Yemen's interest in Japan's free and open Indo-Pacific vision, particularly cooperation in maritime security, infrastructure, connectivity, human development, and human security. Against the backdrop of a growing threat to maritime security, the Japanese Minister of Foreign Affairs stressed that Yemen's stability is not only a national priority but also a key factor in the security and development in the wider region and international community. Following his meeting with Presidential Leadership Council, President Dr. Rashad Al-Alimi, Motegi said Japan is contributing to Yemen's stability through humanitarian assistance, including food aid approved in July, as well as financial and personal support for the United Nations Special Envoy's Office for Yemen. Japan, a key member of the Yemen Maritime Security Partnership, is also supporting the development of Yemen's Coast Guard capabilities and maritime law enforcement, linking these efforts to its vision of a free and open Indo-Pacific. Motegi strongly condemned recent Houthi attacks and reiterated the importance of achieving peace in Yemen. He also welcomed growing numbers of Yemeni students receiving government scholarships to study in Japan, expressing hope they will contribute to Yemen's development and serve as a bridge between the two countries. Presidential Leadership Council member and Hadramaut Governor Salim Al-Khanbashi has reviewed preparations for the first Hadramaut Women Leaders Conference scheduled to take place next November. During a meeting in Mukalla, Al-Khanbashi was briefed on preparations for the conference, including lectures, workshops, discussion sessions, and field visits highlighting Hadramaut's historical and cultural heritage. The conference aims to build partnerships between the public, private, and civil society sectors, showcase successful women, support women's entrepreneurship and community initiatives, and strengthen women's participation in development. Al-Khanbashi praised the organizers' efforts and expressed hope that the conference would produce practical outcomes and sustainable partnerships supporting women's social and economic empowerment. Separately, the governor reviewed environmental programs in coastal Hadramaut, including environmental monitoring, biodiversity protection, pollution reduction, and awareness campaigns. He stressed the importance of promoting women's contribution to development and supporting environmental protection efforts, while strengthening coordination among relevant authorities to address environmental challenges across the governorate. Prime Minister Dr. Shaya Al-Zindani has chaired a meeting of Supreme Emergency or Energy Council in Aden to review electricity reforms, funding and measures to improve service reliability. The Council discussed financial allocation for electricity support, maintenance needs at government power plants, and priorities for improving generation capacity and efficiency. It also reviewed the Strategic Electricity Plan and Executive Reform Program and investment projects in the sector. As Zindani said, electricity is a direct government responsibility and stressed that resources allocated to the sector must translate into tangible improvements for citizens while being subjected to transparency, oversight, and efficient management. The Council also reviewed initial assessments for installing solar power systems at government facilities as part of efforts to diversify energy sources and reduce operating costs. Members praised continued Saudi support for Yemen's electricity sector, including fuel supplies and emergency power stations with a combined capacity of 300 megawatts for Aden and Hadramaut. The meeting also examined distributions in domestic cooking gas supplies attributed to transportation blockages, market manipulation, and raising demand, as Zindani ordered measures to ensure regular and fair access to gas and prevent citizens from bearing the consequences of supply disruptions. Minister of State and Women's Affairs Dr. Ahd Jassouz has discussed with British Ambassador to Yemen Abda Sharif ways to strengthen cooperation in support of Yemeni women's empowerment. During a virtual meeting, the two sides reviewed the humanitarian and economic challenges affecting women in Yemen and the need to expand their participation in public affairs, peace building, and decision making. Jassouz outlined government efforts to increase women's representation in leadership and policy making and create an environment that supports their participation in development and stability. She stressed the importance of expanding cooperation with international partners to strengthen women's capacities and support their economic and social empowerment. The British ambassador reaffirmed the UK's commitment to supporting women's issues in Yemen and projects aimed at expanding women's economic and social opportunities and their participation across different sectors. Minister of Water and Environment Engineer Tawfiq Al-Sharjabi has held separate meetings with CARE International and UNESCO representatives to strengthen cooperation and coordinate support for the country's water and environment sectors. With CARE Regional Director for the Middle East and North Africa Hazem Fahmy, the Sharjabi reviewed ongoing joint projects and their implementation, as well as future initiatives aligned with the ministry's priorities and sector needs. The minister stressed the importance of expanding cooperation with CARE and ensuring its future interventions are coordinated with government plans to maximize their impact. CARE representatives propose appointing a dedicated focal point to improve coordinated and accelerate project implementation. Sharjabi also met UNESCO representative Nano Lavera to discuss cooperation, particularly an early warning project for Aden aimed at strengthening authorities' capacity to prepare for the response to water and environment-related risks. The minister stressed the project's importance in improving preparedness and reducing the impact of potential hazards, with UNESCO reaffirmed its commitment to supporting joint initiatives and priority projects. Ministry of Industry and Trade Mohammed Al-Ashwal has inaugurated the third Aden exhibition for renewable energy, information and communications, technology and electronics, running from August 19 to 22 in the temporary capital. The exhibition, organized by the Ghanem Foundation for Exhibitions and Conferences, brings together a wide range of companies and specialized businesses, showcasing modern products, technologies, and solutions in renewable and solar energy, information, technology, communications, and electronics. Al-Ashwal said specialized exhibitions provide important economic and investment platforms for showcasing for showcasing new technologies, strengthen links between businesses, the private sector and consumers, and creating opportunities for commercial partnerships and investment. He stressed that renewable energy and digital technologies are key pillars of economic development and digital transformation, reaffirming the government's commitment to supporting the private sector and creating a more investment-friendly environment. The exhibition's executive director, Muad Ghanem, said the third edition builds on the success of previous editions and aims to connect companies, investors, and technology users under one platform. Specialized units of Joint Brigades have conducted live-fire military exercises as part of a training program for the Joint Falcons unit specializing in operating unmanned aerial systems and air defense platforms. The drills included demonstrations of drones used in military operations, along with radars of detecting and tracking aerial targets and air defense systems for intercepting hostile threats. The exercises begin with reconnaissance drones conducting aerial surveillance to identify simulated targets and their locations, followed by direct engagement using attack drones. The unity successfully detected, located, and accurately engaged the simulated targets, demonstrating its ability to operate different drone systems and air defense platforms and respond to aerial threats. The drills also highlighted the unit's technical capabilities and readiness to carry out operational missions and respond rapidly to potential threats through an integrated operational approach. For more than a decade, Houthi control has extended beyond Yemen's political and social spheres to its universities, where the militia has sought to reshape academic institutions according to its ideological agenda. University campuses in areas under Houthi control have increasingly been used for mobilization, sectarian indoctrination, and imposed activities, while professional standards and academic independence have come under growing pressure. Our report has more.
For more than a decade, the Houthi terrorist militia has tightened its grip on the universities in areas under its control as part of a broader project aimed at undermining the independence of academic institutions and turning university campuses into platforms for imposing its rhetoric, activities, and ideological manifestations. Universities have increasingly been turned into centers for sectarian mobilization and exploited for events imposed on society, including the so-called Prophet's birthday celebrations, as a means of expanding the militia's presence and reinforcing its sectarian discourse. Activities and events imposed on universities have also become a means of involving students in politically and ideologically driven occasions, while academic and research priorities continue to decline. This places students under mounting educational pressures at a time when families are already struggling with difficult economic and living conditions, while the cost of education, transportation, and university needs continue to rise. All of this highlights the extent to which the identity of academic institutions has been altered, transforming them into arenas for mobilization and propagation of ignorance and underdevelopment. The action of Houthi terrorist militia go beyond mobilization and imposed events to a systematic effort aimed at suppressing awareness and replacing the foundations of knowledge with superstition. The militia also uses academic institutions as a pretext for imposing levies and draining citizens' resources, extracting money under various labels such as contributions and donations, while placing additional financial burdens on students amid the difficult living conditions faced by residents in areas under its control. At the same time, the militia deliberately undermines professional standards by excluding qualified and talented individuals from positions of appointment and promotion and replacing them with its own loyalists and supervisors, regardless of competence or experience. When affiliation and loyalty become the criteria for appointment and promotion instead of qualifications and merit, universities become less capable of retaining their academic staff, leaving the future of scientific research and higher education increasingly vulnerable to deterioration. This policy has weakened the standing of university professors, damaged the educational process, and made loyalty a prerequisite for opportunities within the university.
That was the news bulletin from SABA satellite channel from Marib. Thank you for watching and have a good time.